At its heart, Spring is all about developer productivity, helping you get to and remain in that state of flow RJ spoke about. For almost 2 decades, Spring has addressed many of the Java community's challenges from a developer's perspective, integrating with server infrastructure and open source technologies for a smooth development experience. As a part of the dynamically evolving Java ecosystem, Spring continues to adapt to architectural challenges, empowering system architects to embrace different kinds of architectures with a unified programming and configuration model. A key factor of Spring's success is the feedback loop with the wide variety of Spring developers in the industry. Just recently, as many as 95% of you told us that Spring Boot has a huge positive impact on your developer productivity, which is very uplifting for us to hear. So today, we're excited to share more about how we are preparing the framework for the development challenges of 2022 and beyond. Let's embrace the latest architectural trends for new applications and for the evolution of the many existing Spring-based systems out there. I mentioned developer feedback, and I'm excited to announce that results from the State of Spring Survey 2021 are available today. In addition to your very positive feedback on developer productivity, here are a few more insights. 61% of you use Spring Boot as the only or a primary development platform. No surprises that 94% of you use Spring for building microservices, with 35% also building reactive architectures. On a timely note, well over half of you indicated an interest in deploying Spring applications as native executables within the next 2 years. If you're curious, all these insights are in a report we're making available today. Towards the challenges of 2022 and beyond, we are revisiting fundamental characteristics that apps and stacks need to have. Spring Framework 6 and Spring Boot 3 aim to embrace the latest runtime infrastructure and the latest industry initiatives, shaping not only our initial 6.0 and 3.0 releases, but rather an entire generation, with a stream of Spring Framework 6.x and Spring Boot 3.x feature releases to follow. We are revisiting the core framework and its design choices and trade-offs, as well as the infrastructure baseline. And we're really excited about being able to deliver significant benefits to every Spring user, irrespective of whether you containerize apps or not, or build a native executable. This is a new generation of the framework for a new generation of applications that you will build for the years to come. Let me discuss a few specific themes and why they are relevant to us and to you. First, let's talk about updates to the Java platform. This year, we are upgrading the framework to a Java 17 baseline. We intend to empower the community and everyone's Spring applications to fully adopt recent language innovations, starting with all the goodness that accumulates in the Java 17 long-term support generation, and continuing with the Java 18 and 19 feature releases next year. It's not only about language features, this is also about the latest Java Core APIs, and particularly about JVM runtime improvements. As you might be aware, a lot of OpenJDK work in recent years has gone into the virtual machine, so there are plenty of reasons to upgrade overall. At the same time, we keep embracing the latest Kotlin versions, giving you a first-class alternative language for Spring application development, next to the modern-day Java language itself. Moving on to Jakarta EE. Jakarta EE9 is the continuation of the APIs formerly known as Java EE8. The namespace is now renamed to Jakarta from what was previously JavaX. So for example, what was previously referred to as javax.servlet is now jakarta.servlet. Jakarta EE9 is, initially, literally just a repackaging of the Java EE8 APIs. But by upgrading to the Jakarta namespace, you will help us prepare for the further evolution of those APIs, such as Servlet, the Java Persistence API, and Bean validation in Jakarta EE10 and beyond. Next, I'd like to talk about native executables and ahead-of-time processing. You might be aware of the Spring Native initiative already. It is one of the most exciting efforts that we're working on right now, preparing Spring applications for deployment as native executables on GraalVM. There are many benefits coming out of these efforts. With native executables, the factors that get mentioned most are of course startup time and memory footprint. That said, traditional JVM deployments will benefit from ahead-of-time processing as well. For me, these broad benefits to many kinds of applications are the most attractive part. As you well know, Spring has a tradition of enabling many kinds of application architectures. Once again, we are embracing the latest web and messaging technologies, for example RSocket and GraphQL, and the choices that they open up for system architects. Later at SpringOne, we are further exploring RSocket as well as GraphQL, so please check out these sessions if this is an area of interest to you. Next up, the Spring Observability Initiative. Our aim here is to bring unified metrics and tracing APIs to the entire Spring ecosystem. The observability keynote that runs in the morning on day 2 is something I think you will really enjoy. So now, let's talk about the roadmap leading up to Spring Framework 6.0. In general, our preference is for releasing at the right time, in alignment with the ecosystem developments around us. This roadmap is our current guidance to give you an idea and to help integrators and early adopters to prepare. The first 6.0 milestone should arrive later this year, introducing the Java 17 and Jakarta baseline upgrades, as well as a few initial refactorings. Further milestones will then include specific features and enhancements towards our native and observability themes. We aim to enter the release candidate phase sometime in the middle of next year, and general availability is expected in late 2022. Now, in case you were wondering, the Spring Boot 3.0 release plan is closely aligned with the Spring Framework 6.0, providing streamlined integration with the core container and many more features across the board in Boot. Most importantly, Boot 3.0 is where the native story really comes together, with first-class support for native executable deployment. Of course, Boot also manages a wide set of third-party dependencies. Boot 3.0 will pick up a new generation of third-party upgrades in the ecosystem, not least of it all due to Jakarta EE9. We expect timelines to work well with Boot 3.0 and Framework 6.0. For example, Tomcat 10 and JD 11 are out already, with Hibernate ORM 6 expected for next year. In parallel with all our efforts on Framework 6 and Boot 3 milestones, we of course keep working on the Spring Framework 5.3x release stream and on further Spring Boot 2.x feature releases. For example, we are adding official Java 17 support to Spring Boot 2.6, coming up in November this year. If you are currently on Boot 2.x, you can look forward to further 2.x feature releases, such as Spring Boot 2.7 in Q2 2022. With Boot 2.x remaining in active development for the time being, feel free to upgrade to Boot 3 at your own pace. Having said that, I highly recommend preparing yourself for the eventual Boot 3 upgrade by upgrading to the latest 2.x releases at your earliest convenience. That's the end of my announcements and updates, but we are only warming up here at SpringOne. There is so much more to look forward to. As you know, we have talks across 5 tracks. Don't forget the Q&A opportunity at the end of each talk. Please make use of it, and most importantly, tailor SpringOne to your interest. Finally, I'll leave you with a personal selection of breakout topics related to the themes I've been referring to. This includes my own talk, going from Spring Framework 5.3 to 6.0. I'll be diving into some of the technical plans and the roadmap impact in more detail. Thanks for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the show.